Hey, what's up everybody? This is Rob with Venturi Aquariums, bringing to you one more filter in this, I guess you could call it, Hygger series. I have a total of 3. I'll put a link in the description for the one that I previewed earlier. Today what I have is Hygger's 5-in-1 new internal fish aquarium filter. They're HG052. Now this particular one is good for up to 30 gallons. It is electric powered. The filter media consists of bioballs and a sponge. So we're just getting into the unboxing straight in. Disclaimer quickly, Hygger sent me these 3 filters to test out, as well as introduce them to you as another alternative to keep your costs down when setting up or continue maintaining your aquariums. Alright, so first thing off the bat, and it could have happened at Amazon from tossing boxes, but you can see the bag is ripped open and the dust from the bio balls have found their way onto the filter. So the bag feels real brittle, which probably would explain the rip or the tear. You can kind of see it right there. In any case, here is the filter, and this comes with your filter, your power head, your Venturi hose, and of course the bane to all male existence, the instruction manual. Alright, so like I said, this is their model HG052. This one is 110 to 120 volts, 60 hertz, and this is their large model. So they have a small and a large. So here is the filter with the power head. Now the other day, or depending on when you're watching this, I had done a video on just the filter, which is a small filter for a 0.5 to 5 gallon. So there is that filter compared to this filter. So it's pretty much the same design. The assembly and disassembly on this is pretty straightforward. You just have to separate the filter chamber from the base. There is an O-ring in here which seals it up into here. Now it comes with one, so you can use it again either way. You can use it with the power head or use it the same way as the other one. Now this one comes with your suction cups, and it also comes with your Venturi air valve so that you can adjust the airflow. So you have your filter chamber, have your separation plate to keep your biomaterial off your sponge. They call this a fine. Now if you're using this on a shrimp tank or on a fry tank, you can see where the foam pretty much presses up against this grill. That should protect your fry as well as any shrimp getting sucked up in this. So the assembly part is that simple. The foam's already in there, the plate's already in there. You just have to rinse off your bio balls, which I can do here, not a big deal. I'm going to clean this anyway, give it a good rinse before I put it on any tank. This took the whole bag. you've got a nice little gap there. You can take this one step further and either use some biofilm, polyfill, cut a piece and put it on the top. So not only do you have your mechanical, your biological, you now have a filter floss that's going to trap even more of the smaller particles. Again, saving you money as opposed to having to go out and buy a polisher pump like a marine land polisher, things like that. You can accomplish it all in one. I mean, using this and putting some polyfill, or if you want, go out and buy a brand name filter media floss and cut it to fit in there, you can do it. I would just soon take this as a template, cut out the polyfill and put it in there, or for those that actually just use the wadding of the polyfill, just wad it up in there, or put it down below, because normally you want the bio balls to be the last thing that comes in contact with the water, but you don't want them to get gunked up. So by putting that polyfill below, decreasing this space, because you're not going to get like a fluidized bed movement in here. That's not the design of this filter. So with that, you would then put your cap back on. So even with the cap on, you still have some room for polyfill or even more biomaterial. So with that, you've got your holder, which also will draw up from the bottom. And you just take it, push it back in so that it's flush. And you're all set to go. So now you can just pull this cap off and run it as is. Just take your existing or new air pump, at least 2 watts, attach your air tube to it, put it in your tank. Of course, after you put on your suction cups. So there are your suction cups, and they basically just push in like this. So now this is all set. You saw how fast it was. The only thing I didn't do was rinse the bio balls, but right now the way it is set up, I have the diffuser or the air port. I would have my airline, which the one issue that I have with a lot of the Hygger products that actually come with their hose, for whatever reason, the makeup of the hose kinks very easily, and this is just kinked from shipping. You can see the crease there and up here in the top as well. For this application, I don't think it's going to really create too much of an issue, but I use my own silicone line. I mean, this is soft, but just the fact that it kinks that easily, I probably personally wouldn't use it if I was trying to run this as it's set up, as they say, pneumatically. So at any rate, if you take the cap off and you go to the electric use or electric powered, you now have the power head. This power head will rotate. All right, so now, saw how easy it was to put together, or take apart and put together. Now the way I have it set up now is, not seeing this end valve here, this is set up for pneumatic use, or similar to an internal filter or a sponge filter. You would take, this line would go up to, and I recommend, a check valve and a control valve. So that way you can control the amount of air that's coming out of this, because you don't want giant bubbles racing to the surface, because it doesn't serve any purpose. It will not oxygenate the water, as well as smaller bubbles carrying more oxygen to the surface. But with that being said, Definitely a check valve in case something ever happens. The water is only going to backflow to the valve and stop and not leak out onto your floor. So with this would go up to your air line or up to your air pump, and you'd run it this way. Now you got a bigger tank and you want to ramp it up a bit. What you would do here is you would take that little cap and cap off that input line. You would then remove your diffuser or your air cap, and you would take this power head, which again, you could run this just as it is, but it's easy enough to take apart. I only know because this is familiar to another power head that I've used. You just turn it and you can pull it apart. Very simple. Rod stays in the housing. Push it back up. Align the tabs. And you're back in business. Now with this, because it does have the ability to come out, you can turn this to a certain degree. If you turn it that far, now your head's going to come off, your port's going to come off. But you can come out to a certain range depending on where you want to aim the water. So pretty much from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, I would say, is the range. All right, so now showing you that, what they've done is you would put it on. So now you're set to use it, as they say, electrically. Right here is your port for your Venturi tube. So now, instead of hooking the air line to the back port, you're hooking it right to the tube. So with the valve, you can control the amount of air or the amount of bubbles you're going to see coming out of the tube. Now for some of you that may not be familiar with this, this is just an open valve really. This little port here is to draw in the air. So as it's set up, it is all set to run. So at this point, I think a good idea is let's go put this on a tank, see what it does. All right, so I'm going to use the Tetra air pump, the 2040. As you can see, comes with a check valve, so you'll save some money there and not have to worry about going out and buying one. This is just one of the spares I had laying around. And it also comes with the valve I mentioned to control the amount of water or the amount of air being put through the pump. Okay, so here it is all set up. Plug it in. All right. So with this, you want to keep the head above water. And as I mentioned, like you can see, this will control how much air is coming out of here. You can do it to just a little bit. And that's just maybe a quarter turn, eighth of a turn. That's probably about a halfway. So as you can see, it's definitely pushing some water. You can see, like from some of the plant clippings, it's already creating a current this way. So if you have any dead spots in your tank where you see stuff build up, put that in the opposite corner and direct it across, and you're good to go. So now if I take this off, Now it's just pushing water. That's simple. So that draws water in the same as it does the air from the tube. You want to put the tube back in, you're going to be dosing medicine. How quick it brings in the air. Done medicating, did a water change. I just want to create current because I got fish that like to play in the current. So that is running it with the power head. Alright, so it's set up. I'm going to connect the air valve and then I'll push it down and we'll see this one in action. So there it is, functioning on the air pump. Now the only thing different is that's full tilt from a 2040 Tetra air pump because I didn't put the air valve in the actual line. So you're definitely getting some flow. So something like that, if you wanted, you could put it in the back of the tank. Or if you have a big plant like I have there, you can hide it. As opposed to using a giant air sponge that may stick out. You can barely see it. Now if I put that down further, you wouldn't even be able to see the bio balls. Or if I pushed it further in, you would lose it. So now it's filtering the tank, it's adding more oxygen to the water, as well as creating surface agitation. So all in all, it is not too bad. It's definitely, as you saw in either way, moving water. Easy to disguise or leave out in the open, your choice. As you can see, it's definitely doing its job. It is picking up, even though something like this isn't going to get sucked in. It's definitely drawing in some of these plant clippings that are floating around. Now you got to see it on the tank. You got to see it working in the electrical mode and the pneumatic mode. Hygger's terms. You got to see it with the power head. You got to see it with an air pump. With that, with the information I provided, should help you decide, if this is going to work in your application, be it a fry tank, shrimp tank, hospital tank, whatever. You can use the pump, the filters vertically or horizontally, regardless of the application, with the airline. You can use either one, sponge filter or something like this. It just comes down to the real estate. Now granted, I do have small sponges, which are probably the equivalent of this size, radius, diameter. It's an okay filter. It's plastic. If you go and watch the other video and you need something smaller. Now compared to the small sponge filters I use, this is a lot smaller, a lot less real estate in my tank. And when you start dealing with nano tanks or smaller tanks, you may want something that's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to the eye than a sponge filter, regardless of the size. This is number 2 in the Hygger filter series. The other one is, I think it's an interesting filter by design and the look. And I think it might be appealing to a lot of nano tank fish keepers. So stay tuned for that. With this, as far as the filter and what I've seen and seen how it worked, I don't mind it. And I think it's versatile. You have the ability to use just the power head. You have the ability to use just using it off an air pump like this, or using both. Putting the power head in one side, putting your filter and running it off an air pump on another side. So for the money, you know, you kind of get, I'd say you bought the power head, but they're giving you the pump for free, or they're giving you the filter for free. Depending on how much the price is for a large. Small, you know, $22.99, you'd be hard pressed to find. I mean, there are some out there, but to find a decent and a stronger, you know, 100 gallons per hour power head for around that price point. All in all, I think it's decent. The design is the same as anybody else's out there. It's not the next best thing since sliced bread, so I'm not even going to try to tell you that. Aesthetically, it looks good. I think it's easy to hide in a fish tank. You can, for those folks that have turtle tanks and stuff, you can run it this way with the airline, as well as this way. So another thing for you to think about. So I appreciate you again stopping by, checking out number 2 in the Hygger filter lineup. Stay tuned for the next one, which I think you'll get a kick out of. I mean, I'm really interested in trying it. So with that, I've droned on long enough. I appreciate all of you that have stuck with me. And with that, take care of yourself, take care of each other. God bless and peace.